Hello everyone, this is Arif. In our today's video, we will talk about top 10 technical jargons associated with startup. So let's discuss our top 10 technical jargons which are associated with the startup and which you might quite often hear in business news, in social gathering, or even at the offices. So the first word is unicorn. So unicorn is basically any startup company whose valuation crosses a $1 billion mark. So if the company worth is more than $1 billion, so we call it a unicorn. With the same unicorn family, there are two more associated terms, which is decacorn and hectacorn. If the valuation of the same startup crosses 10 billion, so we call it decacorn, and if it crosses 100 billion, we call it hectacorn. I personally do not know any startup which has crossed 100 billion mark, but these are the terms which we can associate with startups. Our second term is bootstrapping. Bootstrapping, the term is used in order to refer to the founder of the startup of his initial investment which he brings up. It goes with the same metaphor of pulling yourself up. So in order to pull his idea up, he has to bring money. So either he take it from his family or from his own savings or friends. So the initial capital or initial investment which he brings to execute his idea, that calls bootstrapping. Our third term is seed round. Seed round is the initial investment which is being done by other than the founder on that startup. So they introduce their ideas to different people, different investors. So the initial investors who invest in your idea is called seed round. Seed round follows by series A, B, and C, and continuously, and so on and so forth, with other rounds of funding. So whenever anyone talk about seed round or series A or B, so you probably can understand that they are talking about the funding, the initial investment, which this startup has attracted. The fourth point is pitch deck. Pitch deck is basically a small presentation. Generally, it comprises of around 10 slides in which the founder pitch its business idea in front of the investor to get seed money. So now you understand what is a pitch deck. The fifth is MVP. MVP is minimum viable product. So this is the prototype of the concept which they are trying to sell as a startup. It could be an app, it could be a website, or any minimum product prototype which they bring it in front of the investors in order to attract investment for their startup. The sixth is VC. VCs are basically a limited liability company, venture capital we call it. These are the companies which has funds from high net worth, which means rich people, which they try to invest in a high risk, high return company. So they invest in these startups by taking proportion of their startup equity. So the proportion of the company, generally it's 3 to 5%, but depends. So this is our sixth term. The seventh term, which you will hear quite oftenly associated with the startup, is burn rate. Burn rate is how quickly the startup is running out or burning their funds in comparison to your equity. So how because these startups, they attract money, they attract funding from different investors. So whenever the word you hear burn rate, it means that how quickly they are running out of their capital and in making expenses in the business or in the startup. The eighth one is disruptive. This word is very often we hear. It's not only associated with startup, but it is associated with many different fields as well. Disruptive technology basically means any revolutionizing technology which is transforming the traditional way of doing business. So this is the simplest way of understanding. The nine is incubators. Incubators are basically institutions which give the initial support, grooming, mentoring, training to startup founders to build their initial product or MVP, as we have discussed in this video. And the last 10 one is Accelerator. Accelerator is the second stage after Incubator, when they already have a product and they test it in the market, so they need to accelerate their growth and scale their business. For that, they need extra funding from the VCs. It could be seed round, it could be Series A round. So in the Accelerator, basically they pitch their presentation, and they if they get successful, the investor invest in that idea. So the role of Accelerator is to accelerate the growth of the startup. So these are the top commonly used startup terms which every startup entrepreneur needs to know. Even if you are just in business, you need to know about these things, because you will quite often hear these terms, and without knowing the meaning, you might not be able to grasp the concept behind and the discussion. So with this, I will conclude my today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.